Welcome to How You Livin', a transformative podcast featuring best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and minister, Dr. Rick Rigsby. And now, Dr. Rick.
Hello, friends. Thanks so much for joining us. I would like to revisit a subject that I've discussed before. However, after experiencing a recent encounter, I'd like to approach the subject from a very different perspective. In a previous episode, I looked at the topic of humility largely through a biblical lens, but lately I was moved deeply by the humility of two famous people. I'll introduce them shortly. To recap from earlier, I believe that humility is a way of life. I offered examples and shared a few quotes on the subject, one from legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden, who once said, "Talent is God-given, be humble. Fame is man-given, be grateful. Conceit is self-given, be careful." I quoted universal principles contained in Scripture, such as pride goes before a fall, or God is opposed to the proud, but will give grace to the humble. I even mentioned the only time in the Bible where Jesus self-disclosed his own nature. He said this in Matthew chapter 11, "For I am gentle and humble in heart." But I experienced something recently that puts hands and feet on all those biblical lessons that I have taught over the years, something that really impacted me and compelled me to see humility in a very different light. Simply and unwittingly, I saw humility walked out. The results? Attractive, influential, impactful. As a result, I walked away and renewed my commitment to walk in humility every single day for the rest of my life. Here's the story. Recently, I spoke at a Christian men's conference along with several professional athletes, some well-known entertainers, and other high-profile individuals. Of all the people, I was truly impacted by two: NFL Hall of Fame linebacker Ray Lewis and former CIA Director and Secretary of State Michael Pompeo. As a motivational speaker, I'm around celebrities often, but there was something different, something very different about these two individuals from very different walks of life. Despite the accolades, despite the accomplishments, despite the applause, they both walked in a godly humility, and it was profound. My visit with Ray Lewis was so memorable. My first reaction was how big he is physically. At age 47, he still looks like he could dominate the middle. On the football field as a Baltimore Raven, Ray Lewis was in a class by himself. Tough, dominating, a ruthless and relentless warrior. But the Ray Lewis I met was kind, soft-spoken, more interested in us than in rehearsing his accomplishments. In a word, the former gladiator was humble, and it was really impacting. When you walk in humility, regardless of your status, those in your presence are included. They're celebrated, they're valued, they're encouraged. We had a nice, be it brief, conversation, and because of Ray's humility, I really got a chance to see his heart. I left his presence with a few things to work on myself. I'm no superstar or high-profile celebrity, but I do encounter people every single day who need encouragement, to be reminded that they matter, to be assured that they are significant and people of value. Ray Lewis modeled that for me, but he wasn't the only one that weekend. I then met Secretary Michael Pompeo, former director of the CIA and the 70th Secretary of State from 2018 to 2021. These are high-profile positions in our government, and the Secretary's special protection was a reminder of how dangerous the job was and how critical the threat continues to be. The Secretary embodied the very same qualities I encountered with Ray Lewis. Secretary Pompeo could not have been nicer. Calm and assured, not arrogant or pushy. Fascinating stories, a great sense of humor, but more concerned about learning about you. His genuineness was just disarming. His humility was impactful. And despite living his life on a world stage, there was this in the moment presence that made each of us around him feel as though we were just as important and just as significant as world leaders. Once again, I walked away from the Secretary of State challenged to walk in humility. Said another way, I want to value people without reciprocation. What a great way to honor another human being. Former monk Jay Shetty, who, by the way, has written an amazing book titled Think Like a Monk and is a very popular podcaster, shared in one of his recent episodes some great wisdom from one of his mentors. The quote goes like this: "Plant trees in whose shade you do not plan to sit." Jay's point is powerful and in line with our discussion. If you have any gifts, and if you have any talents in this world, according to Jay, if you are not using them in the service of others, they are worth nothing. Plant trees in whose shade you do not plan to sit. Shetty said that most of us do things for others with the expectation that one day that person will do something for us. But real service is when you do something for someone who can't do anything back for you. There's nothing that I can do for Ray Lewis, nothing I can do for Mike Pompeo. You see, friends, when we walk in humility, every single interaction with people becomes this great opportunity to do something for them without expecting anything in return. You not only build value in that other person, but your presence makes a lasting impact. I recall this passage in the Bible that states, "Some boast in chariots, some boast in horses, but we will boast in the name of the Lord our God." It causes me to say, most of the people that I meet boast in riches, possessions, book sales, audience size. But those things don't leave a lasting impact. But you know what does make an impact? When you are within the orbit of another, drawn in by their sincere and genuine spirit, you're included in their conversation, made to believe that your contributions are worthy to be heard. It's when you walk away and you have felt valued and encouraged and uplifted, simply because someone else thought more of you than they did themselves. Friends, I want to be that kind of person every day, every encounter. That person who is free of ego, willing to plant a tree for someone else to enjoy the shade. A person with no need to prove themselves or defend themselves or showcase their accomplishments. I mean, think about it. These folks really do impact. Deanna DeBarra wrote an article for her online blog, Better Up. The title really caught my attention. Listen to the title: Humility in Leadership, the Unsung Skill of Great Leaders. When we think of leaders, we think of a strong, confident person with a host of admirable qualities. But DeBarra argues that humble people have a host of qualities that actually make them better, more effective leaders, including a desire to learn, an ability to reveal what they don't know, and a willingness to get help. They have solid listening skills. They're authentic and compassionate. They have a willingness to admit when they're wrong. Humble people, in essence, create space for others. They remove the debris of self-importance, the desire of always needing to be right or always needing to be heard. Recently, I went to a Christian men's conference. I was there to give a talk along with several others, but I can honestly tell you, this particular weekend, I gained far more in return than what I gave. I got a hands-on, world-class education in applied humility. Friends, when we suppress our ego, we allow space for others to interact, to feel valued, to be uplifted, to be encouraged. I'm a better person for meeting Ray Lewis and Michael Pompeo. And it got me to thinking, what if that was our goal every day? That when you left another's presence, that other person was better as a result of being around you. I close with the words of my dear friend, James Ryle. James passed away a few years back, but before he passed away, he penned some incredible words. Listen to this. Humility is the absolute God-given ability that eliminates the need to prove the worth of who you are and the rightness of what you do. In other words, let others talk about you. Let others boast about your accomplishments. Why not commit to living a life that truly impacts? A life that says I have no need to prove the worth of who I am or the rightness of what I do. Oh, folks may laugh. They may roll their eyes at you. They even may refer to you as weak. But make no mistake about it, such a lifestyle will shake people to their core. An authentic person, a genuine soul, so secure in who they are, there's no need to promote, showboat, or gloat. And that, my friend, will impact people far more than boasting about our status or our standing, far more than talking about cars or diamonds or riches. With each interaction, let us do this. Let's simply plant trees in whose shade we do not choose to sit. You'll be amazed by the impact you make. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Until we meet again, this is Dr. Rick, asking the most important question I can ask. How you living?
Are you ready to make an impact in your world right now? Do you want to stop existing and start living your best life right now? Dr. Rick wants to give you the first chapter of his best-selling book, Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout, absolutely free. Just go to www.rickrigsby.com/free gift to get the print or audiobook right now.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.